My name is Leah Harrell. I am class of 2023 at CMC, majoring in environment, economics, and politics. I applied to be a part of this fellowship because I was interested in hearing more about how this pandemic affected people's mental health. As humans, we've learned to come together to deal with tragedies as a community, but because of the nature of this tragedy being a contagious virus, we have to quarantine, we have to shut down our common spaces, we have to be socially distant. And that can really take a toll on us, especially for people who already struggle with their mental health. So I wanted to explore how people's emotions and their mindsets changed over the course of a pandemic and hear about the types of things that people used to cope with this new way of life. Through the conversations that I had with people, I learned about all sorts of really creative strategies for managing anxiety and staying connected with friends. Things like channeling people's worries into learning new skills or new languages or cooking new dishes. And even like the creativity of international students forming study groups within their own time zones to still have that educational component, even if they're hundreds of miles away. I don't know how far away, but far away from campus. And I think one of the most memorable moments was when I asked someone, when I was interviewing them, I asked them to recall the day that they read the email that CMC was going to shut down. And she responded by saying, "I feel like this is my 9/11 moment." And hearing her say that took me aback for a second. Like, how could someone compare a terrorist attack with getting sent home from college? But I realized that what she said was absolutely correct in the way that everything was going to be different from that point on. This experience is going to impact us for the rest of our lives, and that was kind of the day, that was the turning point. So just hearing that response from her, and then thinking back to all the other responses I got to that question from all the other people I interviewed, it really gave me kind of a new sense of appreciation for the gravity of that day, and like how it impacted me, and how my life was different after reading a single email. So I hope when I look back at this year, I'll remember not just all the struggles that I went through and what the other people in the CMC community went through, but how, what were those creative solutions that people came up with, and how could I think of creative solutions in the future if there's another, I hope there's not another global pandemic, but, other challenges in life, and how to, find the detour and make light of it when things kind of go off course.
Hi. My name is Kylie Harrison, and I'm a member of the class of 2020, and I graduated with a degree in history and in government. I was able to join the Research Fellows and was lucky enough to be a part of the Covid19 at CMC Digital Archive. And through this process, I've learned what it means to be a part of history, and what it means to collect different stories and different narratives, and how each of these stories can come together to create a picture of the emotions, the facts, and the feelings of a moment in history. This pandemic has been very interesting, and it has been felt differently by every single member of the CMC community. There's no one person who has had the same experience as the next. And I was drawn to joining the archive because I wanted to preserve these individual stories and preserve them both for the people of the future, but also use them as a way for the people of the present to understand and process what they've been going through. I think one of the most interesting things I've learned throughout this process is learning to appreciate that no crisis is as simple as it seems. Before, I thought that a health crisis would be a matter of facts and figures, and throughout these past few months, I've come to understand how politicized health crises really are. And that has helped me understand kind of our society and our culture more. And I hope that future generations of researchers can look back and analyze this period with a critical eye, both relying on the individual lived experiences of the people in this archive, but also through kind of the broader picture of data that has been collected during this time. I think that in the future, I will remember this process and remember all the people who I have talked to. And I've also come to appreciate what it means to preserve and see every moment in time as a moment in history, and how important that is for appreciating everything that we go through, and for thinking critically about what we go through, just as we think critically about moments in history. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lauren Ledbetter. I'm class of 2023 at Claremont McKenna, and I'm majoring in history. I applied to be a COVID-19 at CMC fellow because when I got sent home due to COVID, I found myself just looking at screens a lot more, and I was just randomly Googling things that I wouldn't randomly Google, and I was just always on Zoom or always looking into a camera, and I became kind of paranoid about what kind of data was being collected from me and from my excessive internet use. And then as I was looking into more like data collection patterns, I became really curious if any lines could be drawn through the Claremont community as a whole, and how their data use has been either tracked or collected, or just generally how other people in the community have been seeing themselves through technology and seeing other people through technology. So that's been something I've really enjoyed asking people about, is just how they felt looking at a screen or making TikToks or watching Facebook videos or only seeing their friends through FaceTime. And my most memorable interview moment was when I got to reconnect with my fig, Pearl Park, and she told me about all of the different sides of TikTok that she likes to use. And she told me about some cooking videos and some crafting videos that she's been doing, and I'd been getting the same ones. So that makes me more concerned about some of the data that's being collected off of me. But it was a really nice feeling that someone else gets the same videos. I hope that when I look back at this project, I'll remember some of the feelings that I had listening to other people's stories and how different they were from my experience during COVID. And I really hope that I can remember how unique everyone's perspective and access is to resources at this time.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Hernandez. I am a class of 2023 student at CMC, majoring in environmental analysis and chicken eggs, Latinx studies. And I applied to be a COVID-19 at CMC research fellow because I wanted to highlight how members of the CMC community are disproportionately affected by COVID-19 and its effects, mainly students of different socioeconomic statuses, first-generation students, low-income students, and members of the Latinx community and communities of color. And one thing that I learned while working on COVID-19 at CMC is how complex the interview process is, because at first I thought you would interview an individual and then you would be done, but then I learned about oral history techniques, how to properly interview an individual, legal forms that you have to complete, completing field notes, collecting artifacts, and just the whole process. And my most memorable interview memory would be when I interviewed one of my closest friends, Daniela Corona, and how she mentioned this quote that that really stuck with me, how wearing a mask turned into a political act. And that's something that really stuck with me, how your health can be in danger just by your political affiliation or your beliefs. And I hope that when I look back in this year, I'll think about how important patience and flexibility and resiliency has been. And I hope to take those skills with me, how much I've grown with them, and just use them in later facets of my life. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Yaqin and I'm class of 2023 at CMC. My major is philosophy. I applied to be a COVID-19 at CMC research fellow because personally, COVID-19 has changed my life a lot. I have to came back to China and stay with my parents for like half a year. And it also affects my friends a lot. I see them flying from countries to countries and doing quarantines after quarantines, and their original plans were completely changed. I just hope through this research, we can put all these memories into a record so that afterwards when we look back we would completely know like what's happening to us, to our friends, to our entire communities. One thing that I learned working on COVID-19 at CMC is that I think we should be more positive when we are facing a pandemic events like this, because we are not the only one who are affected, and our friends or the entire community is affected. We should stand together and be strong, and we should figure out how to kind of like combat this situation together, because we cannot deal it with ourselves. Yeah. My most memorable interview experience is very hard to decide because everyone has such unique experience. Nobody has like an easy time, but personally, I think the most memorable interview would be the one with Faye, because she's a Chinese international student. She was also doing a study abroad program at Oxford, and she's a junior too. The COVID-19 situation gives her a lot of challenge. First of all, she has to fly back from the UK to China. She has to kind of like move her studies online, and because she's a junior, so her summer internship was also affected because she plans to do her internship in the United States. So through my interview with her, I can really see all the challenges that pose to her right now and the potential challenge to her in the future. She has to plan everything again, and that is really shocking to me. I hope that when I look back on this year, I wouldn't regret all the decisions I made and have a better relationship with my friends, with my parents. Yeah, I hope this COVID-19 situation wouldn't stay long.
My name is Annie Rains, and I will be a junior at CMC this year in the class of 2022. I'm studying economics and history. I applied to be a COVID-19 at CMC Research Fellow because I had a very unique experience with COVID-19, and I wanted to help document the experiences of others who felt just like me. I unfortunately lost 3 of my family members to COVID-19 in New York City, and while I was finishing up my sophomore year during the spring, all the way across the country in California, I had to face the loss of my grandma, my grandpa, and my great uncle without saying any goodbyes, without seeing them, and without being able to speak to them either. In a time of no goodbyes and no funerals, no rituals, and no ways to come together and see friends and family, I had to navigate my way through this virus while grieving the loss of my family. I, like others all around me and around this world, are struggling with the death of their family members. But besides that, I knew that there were people struggling with other things. I applied to COVID-19 at CMC specifically to document everybody's experience and to try to understand the many diverse experiences of COVID-19 during quarantine. The biggest thing that I learned is that you are not alone and that no experience is irrelevant or unimportant. I also learned that every experience is going to be different for each person. So no matter what situation you're in, your reaction is going to be different, and that it's important to document all of these different reactions. My favorite and most memorable interview with my interviewees was with Daniel Hayon, who's a rising senior at CMC in the class of 2021. Daniel, unfortunately, experienced COVID-19 firsthand when he and his entire family contracted COVID-19 in a small house in LA County. I enjoyed talking to Daniel because I felt like I could relate to his experience in understanding what the virus was like and how it was very scary and uncertain to have COVID-19 or to know somebody who had it as well. I appreciated his honesty and authenticity, and I definitely loved interviewing everybody else that I did get to during this project. However, I know that I'm not done, and I have a lot more experiences to document for this project throughout the rest of my college experience. One thing I hope to look back on fondly during this year is the extra amount of time that I spent with my family and all of the time that I spent learning how to cook, spending time outdoors, and thinking deeply about what's important in my life. I think that this was a great period of growth for me in an emotional way, mental way as well, and a spiritual way. And I hope that I can continue this growth throughout and to learn some important lessons from these days when I'm in my room. Thanks so much. Bye.